Good afternoon. My name is Ephraim H. In this developing world, there are various health issues many people are suffering from. They may be psychological issues, which affect the mental health of a person, or maybe physiological issues, which affect the natural body of a person. And according to the National Institute of Mental Health and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, it is the young adults that suffer the most from both psychological and physiological disorders. And over the years, there have been many intriguing aspects of running that have been discovered. This leads to my research question. To what extent has running affected the psychological and physiological disorders of the youth aged 18 to 25 over time? My claim is that running greatly alleviated the psychological disorders of the anxiety and depression, physiological disorders of eating disorders, and asthma of the youth aged 18 to 25. So how does running affect the mental health of a person? According to Jocelyn Cummings, who is a certified running coach for marathoners, running sends more nourishing blood to the brain, which can help you think more clearly and releases your natural mood. Also, Laura Fredendahl, a psychologist, stated that running kicks off a positive feedback loop that continues throughout the run and takes you out of the trance of negativity when overwhelmed with anxiety and depression. This has been psychologically true as provided by the stimuli source, psychological benefits of sports and physical activities. According to Alicia Garcia, serotonin, which is the most extensively studied neurotransmitter of the central nervous system, um, associated with mood changes and antidepressive effects, is increased after physical exercise. In other words, running eases the amount of anxiety and stress a person has. And this is crucial because anxiety is most common among the youth. When looking at the top line, at the solid line at the graph, about 8% of young adults reported anxiety in 2008. However, in 2018, about 15% of young adults reported anxiety. And in just 10 years, the percentage of young adults with anxiety nearly doubled. So, as displayed on the screen, this is the fastest rate among all age groups. Moreover, according to the information provided by the National Institute of Mental Health, the age range with the highest prevalence of depression was young adults at nearly 11%. There are too many young adults that suffer from anxiety and are seeking ways to overcome them. According to Ian Kellogg, a 22-year-old college runner, running is the best fit for this problem. He stated, "When I fall into depression, I more often than not don't run. I can't find the energy or willpower to get out the door, even though I know my training is suffering and that just half an hour will make me feel better." Here he is demonstrating that even though the effect of depression is unpleasant, just a little engagement in running will help a person overcome depression and make them feel better. A research was done by the doctors in the Division of Psychiatry to compare running with psychological therapies to determine which was more effective at treating depression. And they found that 7 trials compared with psychological therapies with exercise and found no significant difference. 4 trials compared exercise with pharmacological therapies and found no significant difference. And 1 trial, however, found that exercise was more effective than bright light therapy. And it turned out that engaging in the running was equally as, or in one occasion, more effective at treating depression than therapies. Also, there are several physiological disorders many young adults aged 18 to 25 suffer from, one of which is the asthma. As shown in the chart of the national asthma data from 2019 gathered by the CDC, the age group of 20 to 24 years old constituted the highest percentage of asthma with nearly 10%, followed by the age group of 11 to 21 years with 8.7%. According to a study conducted by the doctors at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, led by Kristen Carson, running improved cardiopulmonary fitness as measured by an increase in maximum oxygen uptake and the workload achieved by a participant during exercise testing without having a significant effect on the asthma, resting lung function. This means that running greatly benefited the health of a person without having dangerous effects in asthma. Therefore, people with asthma should consider doing regular exercise without the fear of worsening of their asthma symptoms. Moreover, as the data shows, eating disorders usually begin around the age of 18 to 25. When you look at the chart on the left, anorexia nervosa, the age of onset for anorexia nervosa is 18.9 years old, and bulimia nervosa is 19.7, and binge eating disorder is 25.4 years. These are all types of eating disorders that are common among the youth. According to Runner's World, a magazine that deals with runners, there was a college student named Alex Staniforth who suffered from both bulimia and binge eating disorders. As a runner himself, he wanted to become like the top runners, so he started excessively losing weight. And however, his health got worse, so he started running again, and there was a positive impact. He stated, "When I can run, my eating issues are kept much more in check. Running has always been my way of coping with all sorts of issues. The only downside is when I can't run." As he got back on track and ran again, his eating disorders were significantly reduced and controlled. In a similar manner to this, psychological and physiological disorders are very closely related. It is widely known that many young adults get on their phones and social media platforms and look at the feed of others who have perfect bodies. As they compare themselves with others, they exhibit a high level of depression. As stated by the Child Mind Institute, young adult users who spend the most time on social media platforms such as Instagram and Facebook were observed to have a 13 to 66% increase, a substantially higher increase rate report of depression compared to those who spent the least amount of time on social media. When the youth suffer from depression, thinking their bodies are not perfect, they will stop eating, which cause eating disorders, and then it's a cycle of dangerous health. So the potential solution to ending this problem would be to encourage young adults with any type of psychological and physiological disorders to engage in running every day. However, there is one limitation to this, in that too much running may have negative effects on the body and the disorders. According to the Lancet, a peer-reviewed journal, those who ran for more than 90 minutes a day or more than 23 times a month actually had worse mental health than those who did not exercise at all. So the solution I came up with was to support young adults with psychological disorders and physiological disorders to run 30 to 60 minutes 3 times per week. The limitation to this is that it would be hard to follow this guideline at first because they are not used to it. However, this would help alleviate the mental and physical disorders of the youth and suffering from the disorders without having to make them run vigorously. Also, by engaging in running, the youth will have better health and the number of youth with the disorders will drastically decline. Thank you. What questions do you have?
Thanks. I have 2 questions for you. First one, how did your research question evolve as you moved through the research process?
So initially, I was thinking about I was deciding on what type of sports that would be most directly related to the mental and physical health of the youth. And in doing so, I excluded the list of the contact sports because there could be injuries or concussions that could intertwine with the disorders I focused on, such as the eating disorders and depression. So I considered swimming and cycling, but I thought running would be the best fit for this. So that allowed me to come up with a research question about the effect of running on psychological and physiological disorders. And other than that, I did not have any, my research did not go in a different direction.
Okay. And if you had more time, what additional research would you like to have conducted on this issue?
If I had more time, I probably would have conducted additional research on the benefits of running on other major physical disorders, because even though I did address some of the physiological disorders, such as asthma and eating disorders, if I include the disorders of actually like the physical body, such as the bones and the muscles, which may include the muscular skeletal disorders, there would be more perspective I would have been able to choose from, which would make the presentation better. But overall, I'm satisfied with the selections I did.